So, Lucasfilm right now is in shambles, all because of what's been going on behind the scenes between themselves and the Walt Disney Company. It's been a large shakeup happening between Disney CEO Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy after the fallout with the Acolyte series on Disney+, the Nielsen ratings situation, and as well as everything happening with Leslie Headland, Amandla Stenberg, and let's not forget about the whole cancellation situation to Season 2. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, not just because of Bob Iger's cost containment plan and the ongoing issues with the Acolyte and the various projects centered on the High Republic no longer using Amandla Stenberg after she was axed from those projects. It also had a lot to do with her diss track on Instagram that caused great damage to the Walt Disney Company and their image, especially when promoting the Acolyte series. But that's not all. Things began to get even worse. Now, what's interesting about this, moving ahead, has a lot more to do with Amandla Stenberg attacking the fans yet again in the wake of everything that has been going on behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. Let's discuss. Now, we already know that the Acolyte Episode 8 is a colossal failure, not just because of the terrible writing, the storytelling, the execution, the acting, the cinematography even in the last episode was just kind of uninspiring. But what's interesting about that also has to do with the fact that they shoehorned Darth Plagueis in there, Yoda, that made things a lot worse, right? We already know about that this really kind of devalued the characters. It makes Yoda look pathetic in the show. However, this is where things begin to get intense when it involves Amandla Stenberg yet again going into that damage control and double down mode about her view of the fans. Let's get into this. Now, on top of everything here, with both Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy endlessly defending the Acolyte after its colossal failure on Disney+, one major development now has more to do with Amandla Stenberg and her recent attack on fans. After her firing situation at Lucasfilm from several Star Wars projects centered on the High Republic that created much divide between Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company. Now, Stenberg delivered the following. As one who likes to consider myself non-binary and part of the LGBTQ community, I couldn't be more proud over what Leslie and Kathy put together to really evolve beyond what George Lucas built over 40 plus years ago. Of course, we are still dealing with criticism, but as of late, after we took a closer look at the loud minority that rejects powerful female roles in this industry, and especially in the Acolyte, I still stand by my opinion that those inflammatory comments are a larger group than we originally thought, but they are still falling within the minority and a small margin of Disney's core customer base. And I know I keep saying this, but I have no comment on Season 2, and I have no reason to go into that subject right now and absolutely refuse to. But typically, when you have a production like The Acolyte that supports women, that supports LGBTQ, and truly addresses the growing issues with sexism, it's absolutely disgusting behavior to see so many males that fall into that toxic demographic, that remain opposed to that message and to that important delivery. And it's something that we all expected going into the story, that we would get such a response. Star Wars is a community, but there is and always will be a toxic side to it. Kathy and Leslie's mission was to find a way to just ignore them and to focus on what they wanted to do. And I was all for that, baby. It was a dream come true to finally have characters associated with LGBTQ and even the majority of the cast that comes from that background. Myself and Charlie understand all of that, and the toxic fans will never understand Star Wars at the end of the day, because what they don't realize is that those inflammatory comments give studios the wrong impression on how their product is doing. I put full blame on both the toxic fans that reject LGBTQ and even the studios that fall for the false narrative that their loud voices equal a majority of fans. So guys, let me just pause here before I move on about what she's spewing out there again. It seems like that those like Kathleen Kennedy, Leslie Headland, and Amandla don't want to stop when it comes to the damage control and the double down mode of the Acolyte series. Now, she goes on to say about how she is so proud that the series addresses sexism. Now, this bounces back to what we talked about a couple of days ago about how Leslie Headland really went off about why Sol met his demise at the hands of Osha, is that it was all because of benign sexism. And guys, you can't make this stuff up. This is literally what Leslie Headland believes, and this is not a big shocker coming from Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. And yes, it always needs to be said because everyone needs to know that this is the type of people, alright, that Lucasfilm tends to hire for their projects, and it's not a big shocker at all. So, Amandla Stenberg, yet again, attacking fans, saying that they don't understand Star Wars, that if you reject LGBTQ, that if you reject all of the, concepts that are addressed in the series, such as, like, what she put up there, sexism in Star Wars, then basically you are, one that despises what they are actually trying to put together. When in reality, yes, we don't like the agenda. That's true. We absolutely despise the agenda. But what they don't get is that they're getting things mixed up. They believe that we are 100% against diversity. Well, diversity works, and I have to keep saying this. It works only and only if it comes organically and naturally in the process. Whether you're writing the script or getting the story together, if it comes organically, it works perfectly. We've seen many examples of this, powerful female roles out there, people of color out there that really fall into that overall story, and it works very well if it actually is meant for the story and it just happens to work. But if you shoehorn it in there just for the sake of checking boxes, that's when it fails, because then you're not paying attention to a story, right? And at the end of the day, like she said, that they are really just all for checking boxes. So, moving onwards, she goes on to conclude, look, as far as I see it, and I agree with Leslie on this one, there is almost certainly a silent majority of fans that remained quiet, that love the Acolyte and everything it supports. Many claim that we have an agenda with the show, and that is flat out false and completely made up from toxic fans that we have no idea what they are talking about. I think this problem stems from those who believe George Lucas' Star Wars is the answer or is the true key to success, and that is just not the case. Both I and Leslie looked up to Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi and how this would be inspired by all of that. I have had some conversations that aren't really happening anymore because of those same loud inflammatory comments, and it gets very frustrating indeed. So again, we all know that she's taking it out on fans. It couldn't be any more clear after what's been going on behind the scenes, after she was fired/removed from various projects attached to Lucasfilm that focus on the High Republic era. They wanted to bring back Osha and May into the High Republic era to really make it work, and it just wasn't working. By the way, Osha and May, if you even want to call them two different characters, one character, I don't care, it's a very confusing mess, but focusing on those characters, they really are truly wooden characters with no expressions at all. I always have to say this, but Amandla Stenberg seemingly does not blink in the Acolyte series, and that's one of the biggest things that I think irked a lot of fans out there. The wooden acting, the fact that this character was specifically made for her. There was no, up for grabs over at Lucasfilm, where they had an actual calling list where they would drag in other actresses. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.